Do you know what these are? If you answer cable needles for knitting cables, you're right. If you don't know what they are, don't worry, you don't need to know. Would you believe me when I told you that I made this scarf with all these cables and not once used a cable needle? Interested in knowing how? Let's go find out. Hi, I'm Tracy from Tracy KM Designs, and here we'll find out how to cable a simple cable without any cable needles. It's a great technique to learn. I've been working on this scarf for World AIDS Day. You might have seen it in my other videos or shorts. And I'm doing the cabling without a cable needle. Have you ever tried that? Cabling without a cable needle is great if you're on the go a lot. You don't have to try to remember where it is, but it doesn't work for all cables. It's best for smaller ones, 2 to 3 stitches. I find works really well. 4 could work if it's a grippy type yarn. And another thing to think about is your needles. These are really slippery needles, so I don't really recommend them for larger cables. But in this case, I'm only moving 2 stitches over 1 purl stitch, so it's not too bad. I can manage. Thought I'd show you how I do this because it's a great little technique and it's not too difficult. It's just wrapping your brain around it. Please excuse my gnarly nails. About a year ago, I started getting into nail products, wraps and extensions and stuff, and I accidentally overfiled my nails. And my thumb never really grows anyway, the thumbnail, because I don't know if you can see it, the angle of my thumb here. I lost a chunk of my thumb to a mandolin slicer. And so my thumbnail doesn't grow properly anymore. And to try to combat the condition from the overfiling, I was using a clear coat strengthener, but it's time to replace it. I just, it's been a busy month. All right, so this is the last stitch before the cable. And at this point, this cable needs to start heading back to the left. So these 2 knit stitches need to go that way, and this purl stitch needs to hop over to this side of these 2. So I'm going to put these 2 on here, just slip them over. I'm going to knit that purl stitch. Actually, I was going to purl that purl stitch, and I'm going to put my needle tip into those 2 that I slipped, slide them off, slide the needle tip back into that purl one, and then knit these 2 that I slipped over. Now you can see we have the purl stitch here and the 2 knit stitches there. I'm going to purl across the middle of this cable. 2, 3, 4, 5. And here I am over at the other side of the cable, the purl stitch for the cable. These 2 cable stitches need to jump over to here while this purl one goes over to here. So I'm going to put the yarn behind, needle tip into the 2 that I want to move, slip them off, and I sort of pinch that purl stitch between the needle and my finger and slip that needle tip back in. Now I slip those 2 back on and they're ready to knit. 1, 2, and then purl stitch. I'm going to, so I finished off that row, and you can see I'm basically at this part where it's sliding over. The front one is sliding to the left, the back one is sliding to the right, and then they will meet up again here. We've got one purl stitch here now, and one purl stitch here, and these guys are going to travel to meet in the middle. Okay, I worked the backside row off camera since it's not very interesting. And now I need to move these 2 knit stitches, one more to the left, and that purl stitch needs to jump behind to here. Always remember your purl stitch needs to go behind your knit stitches. So since we're moving over, I have to purl this first one. Now we need to get to that purl stitch to work it. So the 2 knit stitches are slipped. Work the purl stitch, slip the left needle back into those, pinch that purl stitch as you take out the needle and get it back on there. Now you can knit those 2. Purl the ones that are in the middle. And here we're stopping 1 purl stitch before because this one's going that way. Yarn to the back. Needle goes into those 2 knit stitches. The purl stitch is just hanging there. Grab it. Don't let it go. There we go. Put the needle, left needle back into those. And then I just slip it like that. So I'm ready to knit that first one. And here's the purl stitch that we moved. So you can see with these slippery needles, I definitely would not want to be trying to have too many purl stitches hanging off on their own while I slip the knit stitches. Okay, and I'll see you for the next one. I'm back on the right side. This marker just marks the separation between my background edge panel stitches and where I actually do the cabling. So now I have 2 purl stitches to start with. 1, 2, yarn behind. These guys need to jump over this purl one. So they're going to come forward. I'm going to purl that one, take the yarn back behind, needle goes in the front, pinch that purl stitch, don't let them jump. Oh, I split it. There we go. It's another thing. Yarn that splits easily, not your friend. There we go. It's moved over 1. Remember when you're coming to this left one that you need to stop at a stitch before. Yarn to the back. These 2 guys need to come forward and jump over the purl. Slip the needle out and stick it in there. I'm not sure I recommend doing this if you're on a bumpy road trip because sometimes you slip more than you need to. Knit those 2 there as your vehicle bounces and the needle just slides right out. Come around, purl that stitch, and then the other 3. Now we can see we got 3 purl stitches here and 3 purl stitches here. And I'll see you for the next row. Alright, time for the next one. We've got our 3 purl stitches that we've already moved over, 1 per row. Purl them. Now we're almost at the end here. These 2 are jumping over this one. Yarn to the back. Bring those forward. Purl that lonely guy. Yarn back to the back. Yarn in those. Pinch that purl. Get it back on the needle. And knit the 2. Okay. Now we don't need to purl anymore because we're at 1 stitch before this grouping. But we need these 2 to jump over to the right, over top of that purl. Drop them off. Where's the purl guy gone? There he is. Yes, I do talk to my knitting like that. Needle back in the front of my stitches. They don't want to slide. Knit the 2. Sometimes I find that they feel almost twisted after I've slipped them back and forth. Just if it feels weird to knit it, see if you can untwist it. Because you'll feel the difference when you go to knit a stitch that's been twisted. And now we have 4 purl stitches on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, none in the middle, and 4 on this side. 4. I'll do my borders and come back to show you the crossover. 4. In this pattern, the left cable always crosses over the right one in each repeat. Okay. Left one always crosses over the right one. So yarn to the back. We need these guys to jump over these 2. So I'm going to put my needle in here. Slide my needle out of all 4 and grab those 2. Ah! Real life. I dropped one. Okay. So those right 2 cables are on the left needle. Now these left 2 are the ones we're going to work first. 1, 2. See, they're crossed over. 3, 4. And then there's the 4 purl stitches. And I'll come back. Okay, I'm back. Slip the marker. 1, 2, 3. Now again, just think about it. This guy was over here and we always stopped 1 purl stitch before him. As he moved over, he's still moving on over. So we're going to stop 1 purl stitch before it. Yarn to the back. Into the front of those 2. Slip that purl stitch off. Find them back there again. Put your left needle back into those stitches. Knit the 2. Purl that 1 that jumped behind. There you go. Now we've got these 2, which are still moving to the left. So we're going to bring them forward. Purl that stitch. And then slip these 2 off. Right needle back. See, it split. Main goal is to get it back on the needle. You can always sort it out on your return backside row. So we've purled that one. We knit the 2 of the cable. And then purl the rest of that cable panel. And I'll come back. We're back. Slip that marker. 1, 2. Remember to stop 1 purl stitch before because he's moving over to the right. yarn to the back. We gotta jump that purl stitch. Drop the needle out, hook it back into that purl stitch, back onto the left needle, knit those 2 knit stitches and the purl stitch. Now we've got these purl stitches to work. These ones are still jumping over the purl. So slip them to here, purl that purl stitch, yarn back. Now we gotta get these guys to go over the purl stitch, slip them out, and on there. Now knit those 2. And now I've got 2 stitches left here, so I know there's going to be 2 more cable rows before we have to start going back that way. Pretty sure you've gotten the idea of what's happening now, I hope. This is a great technique if you want to do like a traveling rib, where it's just 1 stitch. You can make it move to the left without having to do decrease and an increase to compensate. There was a hat pattern that was really, really popular years ago. I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. I think it was called the Koolhaas. And it was like a diamond grid of knit stitches on a purl background. And they just moved over 1 stitch every row and then crossed after a certain number of rows. And it was a great way to get going without cable, without using a cable needle. Again, this is not suitable for all cables. I would not want to do like 4 stitches that you're having to hold behind or in front, or a much slipperier yarn would definitely not be friendly. These needles are really too slippery for doing this, but I am not a needle snob. This is the Knit Picks basic interchangeable set, nickel, so they're really slippery. And then I have a bag of assorted other cable needles that I use. They're more like backups. I use them as stitch holders, or if I'm making something and I'm already got the Knit Picks in use, I get the other ones. And they're just needles that I've collected from everywhere. Thrift stores, people have given me some. Occasionally I need to buy some, particularly if I've gone away and I don't have all my needles with me. So I'm not a needle snob at all. I always recommend to people, go to the thrift store and pick up some needles and just try them out. You'll find some have cables that are really stiff you might not like. Sometimes hot water can soften them. You might find some with tips that are too blunt, too pointy, too short. It really just gives you not a great way to try out many different needles. You're unlikely to find super expensive needles at the thrift store, but I really don't think there's ever a time you need a $200 set of interchangeable needles. I'm not a yarn snob. I'm not a needle snob. So you can see we're back to moving these stitches over towards this way. And then once this gets to the marker, we'll start bringing them back that way. Here's where the marker becomes really important. I need to move this over 1 more, and then it will meet up with the marker. The row after that I'm cabling will mean that I then have to start going back that way, where we start from. So if you're moving to the right, you've got to do your knit stitches first. You've got to jump over the purl stitch. He just jumped right off there. Ooh. Put them back on the left. And the 2, and then purl the one that was tucked behind, purl across the gap in the middle, alright, these 2 are moving over that way. They need to come forward. You need to purl that one first. Moving the 2 knit stitches is probably what you would think would be hardest, but no, it's that single purl stitch. There we go. We are back at our marker. And then the next row, we will start to move these ones this way, and these ones will come over this way. I hope you give this a try on your next cabling project. Simple scarf, hat, whatever. Like I say, it works best for smaller cables with stickier yarns or not so slippery needles. Thank you for joining me, and get up the courage to cable without a cable needle. If I can do it, you can do it. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. Trying to get to 200 subscribers by the end of July. Will you be one of those? If so, thank you.